All right, next up we have What Was Told to Me by My Aunt, who at one time was astrologer to the king by Tree Bucket. And this story is a little all over the place. We start with a rather short opening uh, paragraph that ends with "Stop smirking," which I suppose is meant to be a direction to the reader. Um, Incidentally, I wasn't smirking. I don't know what I was supposed to be smirking about. But it sets up a sort of tone of a story where the the author is very aware that the story is being read. Perhaps will be will be addressed directly throughout, but that doesn't happen. And then we have what is, I think, the strongest part of the story. I love the way you set up the banquet with the descending bits of gilded quality. It's fun when we get to the poets at the end and they're basically just fantasizing about, bullshit. I liked that a lot. But then the story sort of sets up this paradigm of the king wants to do something, and the king kills whoever helps him because the king is worthless, right? So there's like a musician, and when the king tried to do a song, he wasn't happy with the results, so the musician ends up in the harbor. Okay, so now the king wants to write a poem, and hey, we have a poet who is central to the story. So now it's like, okay, that's what the story is. The story is about a poet who is basically trying in some way to satisfy this king and not end up being murdered in the bay or whatever. And that's not the story. Then instead, what happens is we get some kind of genie that feels like a very, very clear and heavy handed um, large language model stand in. Um, I believe you even used the word slop at one point. So at that point, so I'm like, okay, so now this is gone from a sort of self-referential kind of thing to a fairly standard person trying to escape their fate thing to a ChatGPT is bad kind of thing, and we all agree, yes, ChatGPT is bad. I don't really understand what you were setting out to do, and the ending doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I followed all of it, and that is saying something considering you tried to do a number of different things, and you used very pretty language, I think, to do it. It's not a if this is not by any means simple prose. So the fact that it was able to be, relatively parsed by me, which I don't, fancy myself a wonderful reader, pretty solid there. But I just don't understand really what we're trying to do with this. Um, Felt like there was a lot of different potential intentions with the story, and I don't know if it ever really found its lane. I don't know if I ever really was bought into any of the actual action of it. Um, it could have been one thing, and it could have maybe done that one thing better, but it tried to do a bunch of different things. Um, Overall, though, by no means a negative mention for me. Perfectly fine. But I don't think it's gonna really slap in the way that others hopefully might this week, because this is only the second I've read so far. So not too bad. But yeah, a little bit disorganized, I guess would be the feedback.